rot. And it's like, because Sigma changes their supply. They put the same label on it. And so you can get really badly hurt. I mean, we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to figure out what was going wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And it was because Sigma had actually changed the reagent we were using. We were buying it from them, and they changed their supplier, and there was a slight change. And because cells are so sensitive to all these things, we don't yet know what they are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of these things. It used to be any reagent that could have had a long shelf life. Mm-hmm. When we got a lot that would work, we'd buy up all of the lot that we could get.
Good. Exactly. Yeah, perfect. And then so definitely talent and the suppliers. Like, when I look at the hybridoma and you said their fusion partner, is it correct for me to assume then you had a group in your lab, for example, that their focus was on a pre-fusion step, and another group that they would fusion, and another that they might do post-fusion?
No, we didn't actually do it, because what we had is, it's an investment. Is when somebody has been set up to get an antibody, you want them to be in charge of it all the way along.
I see.
Because they invest in it.
Yes.
If you anytime you have something that you throw it over the wall to somebody else, there becomes this attitude of, and it's one of these things you don't see it, is if there's something that isn't quite right, but you get pushed to kind of high throughput, you'll figure somebody else down, there may be something that you didn't see was quite right, but you're like, somebody else down the road would fix it. Whereas if you're in charge of bringing it along through the hybridoma steps, mm-hmm. you're invested in it all the way along.
Okay.
So
it's true.
It's because they're cells, they're not molecular biology, which really it either fails or it succeeds. Hybridomas have so many little steps in them because they're living creatures.
Exactly. It's like, so it becomes like their little babies that they take
it's
care of.
It's their babies. They come in on Sundays and they stay late and it becomes their investment. You acknowledge them. You acknowledge them and it's amazing how it's a set of hands. Yeah. And you either have the hand or you don't.
You don't.
And so I would always make sure I recognized the really good people, no matter what their level was, because they would become even more devoted.
Yes, exactly. So, go ahead.
Just to that point, I'm just curious if you ever tested to see if automation, automation is very consistent, right? So
absolutely.
Perhaps it's reproducing the hands of your most talented worker, or it's reproducing the process of the
I would love to, one place we would love to have automation, we always discuss this, is actually the limiting dilution cloning, and then the harvesting of the soups. Mm-hmm. Because you have so many plates at that point. If we could have, it's now, one of the things I'm doing right now is that I go to India to teach, because I do a lot of teaching now. And they don't have the money for this automation, but they're like, can we do this? And so here in the U.S., we do have a lot that there is the automation of after you do the fusion, mm-hmm. if you had a way that could very gently plate them out, and place them out in limiting dilution, mm-hmm. so that, and then when you've actually found a well that your first screening, that you actually find the ones that look good, there's a lot of limiting dilution that goes on then. And by that point, they're relatively stable, so they will handle being, manipulated in some of the higher speeds that you have with the automation. I mean, it's right at the fusion point. They tend to be very sensitive to any type of, rapid flow. They're much more sensitive. So, but later when they have become hybridomas and they've become that a little bit more robust, at that point you just drowned because you have to subclone and everything else. And if you could actually, that's the point that I always wanted to have automation.